You're listening to the Business Communicators.
Last week was April Fool's, and I like to refer to it as Aggie Day. Sorry to our Texas A&M listeners. Fair. But last week was Aggie Day or April Fool's Day, and I always hate it when brands try to make a joke. And, you know, sometimes they can be creative. You know, like you might have a football team or a baseball team say, here's our new jersey that we're debuting this year. And you're kind of like, I actually might like this. It's different, but I like it. And then at the end of the day, they're like, April Fools, but you can buy our new jersey here. You know, something like that. But sometimes brands go a little bit too far. And they think something is going to be funny or different. And they think it's going to go over well. And then it just completely backfires. And I think that's where we come to VW this week. Volkswagen of America. They flat out lied about rebranding. They had a press release, I guess, that got leaked a few days before April Fool's. And it said that they were going to change their name in the US to Voltswagen. So VOLTS instead of Volkswagen. And they were doing this to try to, I guess, compete with Tesla in the EV market, which is something that, you know, VW is really trying to push, especially here in the United States. But a lot of people kind of questioned, is this the right move? Is VW just doing this as a publicity stunt? And they declined, to even answer. And then ultimately they had to come out and say, yeah, it was a stunt. It went over poorly. And Volkswagen actually issued a tweet saying, we know 66 is an unusual age to change your name, but we've always been young at heart. Introducing Volkswagen, similar to Volkswagen, but with a renewed focus on electric driving, starting with our all-new, all-electric SUV, the ID.4, available today. So they did this to try to promote a car, and it just backfired heavily. Like every brand, everyone on social media was talking about it. And I don't know. They confirmed that this was a lie in the service of a marketing stunt, and it ticked a lot of people off. I mean, is this just trying to be cute, or is it trying to misinform people? I don't know. What's your take, Addie?
Point blank, it was a prank fail. April Fool fail.
Yeah.
And they're not the only ones that have done this kind of thing. You think about Google. Remember the mic drop when they did it with the Despicable Me minion that was dropping a microphone, and it just kind of immediately archived the message back in the day. You had the Taco Liberty Bell. You've had companies and brands who tried this so-called April Fool joke, and it's messed up. Mm-hmm. And it just failed. Volkswagen, I add them to the list. But I also agree with you. I don't like it when brands try to pull a joke, and it's just not good. When it fails, then they come back and try to clean up the mess, and it makes it even worse. And to me, I think it made Volkswagen's prank worse than what it already was.
Well, the worst part is they had like this mock press release that they were going to issue on April 1st.
But their PR person leaked it anyway.
They leaked it early. And then the very next day, before April 1st even happens, Volkswagen is like, guys, we just got to run with it. Let's go.
Yeah, let's just go with it. If it falls down, it just falls down worse than already what it is. And it did. Flat on his face. There was actually a tweet that I saw from a guy named Nathan Bomey. He's a USA Today business reporter, and he said, "Dear Volkswagen, you lied to me. You lied to the Associated Press, CNBC, Reuters, and various trade publications. This was not a joke. It was deception. In case you hadn't noticed, we have a misinformation problem in this country. Now you're a part of it. Why should anyone trust you again?" I mean, I think that's a strong take. But I think a lot of people have that sentiment, especially because of the diesel issue that VW had several years ago, and having to pay a multi-billion-dollar fine. I think outside of BP, the BP oil spill fine, Volkswagen's fine was the most expensive of all time. Ironically, BP and VW actually partnered for something a few weeks back, which I do think is kind of ironic. But Thomas, what's your take?
I come from the school of thought that we have to have some fun in the place, and April Fool's has always been a good day for it. Coming early, not so good. But you have like the GMs who rebrand their logo to make it look more electrified and everything like that. So it makes it start to look like it's a real live, this is what we're gonna do. It wasn't. I think that press release was extremely harshly worded. But at the end of the day, the fake news is really there. And if it's coming out as a press release and you're launching a big old campaign for it, then does it feel like you're trying to do funny April Fools versus this is really what we're going to go for? So, I come from the school of thought that, shame on VW, and then, also have a little fun yesterday, as my statement on April 1st.
What other brands have you seen that have either done April 1st well or have performed so badly? I'm just looking at this list real quick on Brandwatch, and Brandwatch has like a top 5 best and worst. And I'm seeing this tweet from 2016. It's from a company called Deliveroo. And they launched a product on April 1st, 2016 that said it was going to be a teleorder. It says, order food with the power of your mind. And that kind of terrifies me a little bit because I'm convinced sometimes that my cell phone is listening to me. I was actually at El Tiempo, which is a Tex-Mex restaurant here in Houston, the other night with a few friends. We were sitting outside, and I think I was, discussing, one of my first dates with Katie. And before I even, mentioned where we had gone that night, one of my friends kind of jokes in, did you go to Dave & Buster's? Because that would have been awesome if you went to Dave & Buster's. And I said, no. I said, it's actually been several years that I've been to Dave & Buster's. But anyways, I get back home, pull up Instagram, and there's a targeted ad for Dave & Buster's. I was like, my cell phone was definitely listening on that case. So this whole order food with the power of your mind, we might not be that far off from that actually being a reality. But Thomas, Hattie, are there any other like brands where you've kind of said, all right, this is good, or maybe this is not good?
For myself, I haven't seen any that have really been good to me. I don't know why they even keep doing it. I read one here where it talks about how Taco Bell, they actually said that they bought the Liberty Bell, and they put in the Philadelphia Inquirer. They and several other they contain these full-page ads on April 1st, 1996. Headline, Taco Bell buys the Liberty Bell. And they had calls all into the newspaper, and it said the humor set in, and then Taco Bell, it failed, and Taco Bell had to donate $50,000 for preservation and upkeep of the national treasure at the end of the day when it didn't fly right with everybody. So to me, I just tell people, I just say, that's not going to work. You just stop. Who comes up with this stuff?
Yeah, I think the real benefit of an April Fool's joke, a good one, is one that lives for about 2 days. Get you talking about it 3 days, and then it's forgettable. It's not one of those things that you think of years and years and years down the road. I think the CDC released one a couple years back about what happens if the zombie apocalypse happens. And it's funny because they've had to wash that one off and use it now for the COVID, about how to do socially distancing and things like that. And I think that started from an April Fool's. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. I'm probably way off. But looking through the list, like I did the same thing that Austin did and you did, Hattie, about looking through them. And I was like, oh, I do remember that one. Oh, I do remember that one. But I never really thought about them after the fact. And so that's why I think that, some of them were good. Burger King with the left-handed Whopper. This Whopper's only to be eaten with your left hand. And then the Liberty Bell, I was like, oh, I do remember that one too.
But see, I think this kind of there was an article that I was reading from Ann Ginn. She writes at Content Marketing Institute, and I thought she had some really good points. And she wrote a story with a headline that says, "Is April Fool's Day worth the risk for brands?" And I think a Burger King or a Taco Bell, they're already out there. They're already kind of making these memorable moments. Kind of with their brands. They're kind of pushy. You look at like Wendy's, for example, they've really got that, Twitter account, which is, it's feisty, if you will. So a company like that, I guess that it makes sense. But she provides some tips on before you hit publish, is this a good idea? And she says that if your brand has never used humor or the element of surprise in its content, don't do it. If your brand thinks of April Fools as a one-day joke, don't do it. If your brand isn't prepared to devote significant resources to develop a thoughtful, well-executed campaign, don't do it. If your brand leaders can't weather criticism, don't do it. So I thought that was interesting. And then she discusses how you can, if you are this type of company that can do these things, that you should integrate it into your brand. She actually uses Burger King, Thomas, like you said, as an example about, a Whopper toothpaste ad that they ran in the UK as something that could be good. And she says, if humor is good one day a year, it should be part of your brand voice throughout the year. And I thought that was a really interesting takeaway.
I'm going to echo that. I'm going to 100% echo that, because having healthcare background in my repertoire, we always battled every year with Halloween, about should people be allowed to wear costumes on Halloween while working in the hospital. And at first it was, yeah, sure, why not? But then over the years it got to the point to where no, you really shouldn't, because nothing looks worse than having to do life-saving measures dressed as a clown, or having to deliver bad news to a family dressed as a Scooby-Doo character. As you have to really understand who your company is and what they're trying to do, and how do you do it. So I echo exactly what she wrote. Sorry to say bad on the healthcare system, but I'm going to echo that. Don't let your people dress up for Halloween. I'm sorry to say that.
My take on it is, if your base expects you to be silly or expects you to do things like that, then they're definitely going to expect you to do something on Halloween and April Fools. But if it's something that they're not used to seeing from you, and then you just kind of spring it on them because you think, oh, this is unique and this is different and this should be fun for our base, and that's not them, it's going to backfire on you. I completely agree with what the writer was saying.
My favorite annual April Fool's joke is, I mentioned that April 1st is Aggie Day, and there is ESPN puts out a fake top 25 college football poll, and they always put Texas A&M ranked number 1, and Aggie fans every single year without fail think that Texas A&M is projected to be the number 1 team in the country the following year. And then you actually send it around. Like, my buddy sent this around to his A&M friends yesterday, and he sent me the screen caps of the text messages. They were like, oh yeah, that's not surprising, we've got a lot of talent coming back. And then you look at the list and you have Alabama ranked in the 20s. For a fact Alabama football is not going to be preseason number 20. It doesn't matter who they have, as long as Nick Saban's there, they're going to be a top 5 team. You're not going to have some small school that nobody's ever heard of in the top 10. That's not going to be the case. But it was just so funny to see Aggie fans year in and year out say, this is legit, guys, we're gonna do it, it's our year finally.
That's why and you know why they call it April Fools, is because it is an Aggie joke.
Yep. Absolutely.
Aggie's sad.
Absolutely.
And people still want to go to that school. Why?
I got nothing. I'm not saying anything. I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one.
Well, I'm not, because my school is in the system with them, and people want to call us Texas A&M and Purdy. I said, I don't think so. We don't want to know. I don't think so.
We probably just lost all of our Texas A&M listeners, but
you can commiserate with me. I promise you, I won't make too much fun of y'all. I mean, yes.
Too much fun.
Dare us to say that about A&M.
Well, I'm gonna be real. I'm not gonna joke. I make fun of everybody's school.
That's true. That's true.
I just make fun of them more.
That's true. Hattie is an equal opportunity.
I'm an equal opportunity hater.
Exactly. I love it. I love it.
They've got a good engineering department.
Who?
All of them. A&M.
Prairie View A&M.
They have a good engineering department too.
Not two only.
Also, so you're saying you're the only university that has an engineering department that's good?
We're the only one with the best one.
Oh, okay.
I like it.
I'm loyal.
I like the loyalty. You've
been listening to The Business Communicators.